Hey everyone, this is Michelle, Levi's mom. Welcome. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching one of our videos. If you're new, we have a 2.5-year-old little boy named Levi Joseph who was recently diagnosed with autism. If you're not new, welcome back and thank you everyone for stopping by. Today, we're going to talk about toe walking. We've had some questions about whether toe walking is actually a sign of autism, and so we're going to cover that today. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about toe walking and what that is and some of the causes, and then we're going to get into whether this is actually a sign of autism. So first off, what is toe walking? Toe walking is when a child walks up on the balls of their feet, up on their tippy toes, where their heels are not touching the floor or the ground. Toe walking naturally phases out after the age of 2. Now, walking up on tippy toes is mostly a common walking pattern for children that are learning to walk. And typically there's no cause for concern because most children start off walking up on their tippy toes as they just learn how to walk and balance and get to that heel to toe normal walking pattern. Now, it's important to remember that children often are just playing sometimes if they're up on their tippy toes. There's not always a reason to be concerned, although if your child is still toe walking after the age of 2, they strongly suggest that you discuss this with your child's doctor just to make sure that there's nothing more going on. It may be that they're just, playing and walking on their tiptoes, but if you find that this is a very repetitive behavior that they're doing a lot, then it would be strongly suggested that you talk with your child's doctor to make sure nothing more is going on. It's always okay to just ask and get things checked out. It's not something that you want your child to do repetitively throughout every single day. I would absolutely talk to your child's doctor about this if this is happening. There may be other things going on. And if it's just idiopathic, meaning if it's just become a habit, then it would be worth talking about to try to help your child learn that normal kind of heel to toe walking pattern so that there's no issues in the future. Now, we're going to move on to some other reasons why children may toe walk. There are some medical conditions that can cause toe walking as well. Toe walking is sometimes caused by some underlying medical conditions such as a short Achilles tendon, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and sensory processing disorders. So now we've covered some of the reasons why children toe walk. We're going to get into autism and toe walking because that is the question at hand. So the question is toe walking a sign of autism? This is not a 100% simple answer. The answer really is yes and no, and I'll explain. So a few years ago, a study was done that confirmed that children with autism demonstrate toe walking much more frequently than children without autism. Why the prevalence of toe walking is higher in children with autism is not exactly clear. However, it's speculated to be linked to differences in tactile sensory responses for children with autism. This is something that Levi actually does, and so this is why we've had some questions about this. Children who toe walk may have an increased or decreased sensitivity to sensory information. This means they process information differently through the vestibular, tactile, and proprioception systems, which makes it difficult to coordinate body movements. The vestibular system controls our sense of movement and balance. Children with sensory issues, which is common with autism, have a different awareness of their body position, and they feel stabilized when they're toe walking. As far as the tactile system goes, that's our sense of touch, pain, and temperature. And children with vestibular differences can also have tactile senses that exacerbate toe walking. They may not like the way certain surfaces of the floor feels touching their feet and things like that. What's interesting about that is we've noticed that Levi actually toe walks more on hard surfaces than he does on soft surfaces like carpet. When he's on the hardwood or walking barefoot out on the deck, we find that he walks more up on his tippy toes. And so, just from knowing and learning more about autism and the reason why children do certain things, we have kind of come to the conclusion that he doesn't like the way that the hardwood floor feels or a hard surface feels on the bottom of his feet. So in conclusion, is toe walking a sign of autism? That is a very tough question because it's not 100% clear cut. Toe walking is associated with autism in the diagnosis of autism. They say it's not a direct sign of autism, but is definitely linked to autism. So I know that is probably a little confusing, but just remember this. If you have a toe walker and there are no other signs or symptoms or any other problems going on, like they don't have language delays, speech delays, they're growing and developing normally, good eye contact, all of those things, if they don't have any other muscular issues, then your child may just be a toe walker and they may have just created a habit of toe walking. So getting back to our question, is toe walking a sign of autism? This is not a clear-cut answer, unfortunately. They say that toe walking is not a sign of autism, but is absolutely associated with autism. When combined with other signs and symptoms like speech and language delay, repetitive behaviors, and those types of things, it is grouped in with diagnosing autism, but standalone, by itself, all alone, toe walking is not considered a sign of autism. There has to be other things going on with the child, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm not confusing anyone. So it is associated with autism and is something to take into consideration when a child is a toe walker and has other delays in development, and has repetitive behaviors and those other signs of autism. It is definitely to be taken into consideration. So the short answer is yes and no. And I would consider this one of those kind of subtle underlying signs of autism that, combined with other symptoms and signs, could be an indicator of autism. But again, not by itself. If a child is toe walking only, this is not considered a sign of autism, and you definitely cannot diagnose a child with toe walking only. I hope that makes sense to everyone. I don't mean to confuse anyone. This is kind of a confusing topic for a lot of moms and dads out there. So again, alone, toe walking is not a sign of autism, but combined with the other symptoms of autism can help, and is taken into consideration more or less with the diagnosis of autism. I'll just end our video by saying, if you have any concerns about your child and being a toe walker, I would absolutely talk to your child's doctor about it. It cannot hurt to bring the subject up and get the ball rolling if there is something more going on. Again, autism is just one thing to look at with toe walking. There are other reasons children toe walk, and so it's absolutely worth talking to your child's doctor about. Also, I will say it's not something that, if it is just a habit that you want your child to continue doing, if it's at all possible to help them to walk that normal heel to toe pattern, it's always the best outcome for your child so they don't have issues later on in life. Well, that's all for today, guys. Just want to say thank you so much for watching. And if you got any value out of this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would just love to have you. Again, thank you so much. And until next time, we'll be learning with Levi Joseph. We'll see you guys later.